Wow. That was a gem from the National Archives, and I don't know the actual title of it. The title was clipped at the beginning, and so that was fascinating. I love that style of animation, that kind of low frame rate, but visually kind of interesting. Um, you know, teens, early 20th century, a lot of repeating loops. Pretty great stuff. And yes, Jeremy, thank you for donating for the anthropomorphic sugar cube. Yes, the that whole thing of the sugar cube jumping out of the sugar bowl and running off the table is pretty great. I'm Skip Alzheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films, even though that originated on 35. So I hope you don't mind. Hope you're not a stickler. Um, let's learn about some mammals. Enjoy.
The cat is a familiar animal. What does a cat have in common with a giraffe? Or a bat? Or a dolphin? While these animals look very different, they all have something in common. They are all mammals. As a group, mammals have certain physical characteristics which they share with other animals. All mammals have backbones, and so belong to the large group of animals called vertebrates. This group also includes the reptiles, amphibians, fish, and birds. All mammals are warm-blooded vertebrates. Being warm-blooded means that the internal body temperature of a mammal remains about the same, no matter what the temperature is of the surrounding air or the surrounding water. In the heat of summer or in the cold of winter, this skunk has almost the same internal body temperature. Another characteristic that mammals share with other vertebrates is that they breathe air with lungs. All mammals breathe air with lungs. Not only those that live on land, like this woodchuck, but even mammals that live in water, like this dolphin. A dolphin may remind us of a fish, but it doesn't have gills. It breathes air with lungs and must come to the surface for air from time to time, or it would drown. Another characteristic of mammals is that they give birth to well-formed living young. This characteristic is also found among a few kinds of fish and reptiles, but giving birth to well-formed living young is most characteristic of mammals. Baby mammals stay with their mothers a long time and require more parental care than other animals. Although most mammals give birth to live young, there are two exceptions. The echidna, or spiny anteater, lays an egg from which the young anteater hatches. Another rare egg-laying mammal is the duck-billed platypus that lives along streams in Australia. So mammals share some characteristics with other vertebrates. But there are two characteristics which mammals have, and only mammals. First, mammals have some kind of hair. One of the first things we notice about a cat and other mammals is the covering of hair. Sometimes we call it fur. In some mammals, the hair is called wool, as on sheep. The hair covering keeps the animals warm. Sometimes the hair has unusual markings or patterns, as on this tiger. And sometimes the pattern or color of the fur, as on this badger, blends with the animal's background, helping to protect it from enemies. On some mammals, the hair is not easy to see. On a porcupine, we see many hard, sharp quills. But beneath the quills, the porcupine, like all mammals, has hair. Some mammals, such as elephants, seem to have no hair. But if we look closely at the adult, we can see hair on the head. Often a mammal has more hair when it's young. This baby elephant is covered with bristly hair, but will lose most of it as it grows older. Some mammals, such as dolphins, have sparse hair when they're young, but lose it as they grow older. So, mammals have some kind of hair, and most of them have hair all their lives. A second characteristic of all mammals is that they nurse their young. Mammals, and only mammals, feed their young in this way, with milk from their own bodies. The milk is produced in special glands called mammary glands, and this is where mammals get their name. Some baby mammals nurse for only several days, while others nurse for several weeks or longer. Because a young mammal depends on its mother for food, it stays with the mother longer than most other animals do. So we have seen two characteristics that mammals have. They have hair, and they nurse their young. There are some special characteristics that only certain mammals have, and mammals may be grouped according to these special characteristics. This cat is a mammal that eats meat. Mammals that eat meat are called carnivores. Carnivore means meat eater, and such a mammal has long, sharp eye teeth used to tear the meat. Carnivores also have sharp claws used in catching and holding their prey. Other mammals are plant eaters and use their teeth in a different way. Some use them for gnawing their food. Mammals with gnawing teeth are the rodents, the largest group of mammals. This antelope is a plant eater too, but it uses its teeth to grind its food. It belongs to another group of mammals, the large plant eaters that have hooves. Mammals with hooves are called ungulates. The ungulates include some of the most beautiful mammals, as well as some of the largest. Hooves are well suited to supporting great weight and moving across hard ground. The giraffe is one of the most unusual ungulates. The cow is one of the most common. All the ungulates have hooves and eat plant food. This plant eater is a wallaby, a relative of the kangaroo. Wallabies and kangaroos belong to a group of Australian mammals with a very unusual characteristic. They have pouches in which they carry their young. Mammals with pouches are called marsupials. When a wallaby is born, the mother puts it into her pouch, where the mammary glands are located. The baby is carried in the pouch until it's old enough to get along by itself. The chubby little koala bear is another marsupial of Australia. The opossum is the only North American marsupial. The marsupials are considered a very primitive group of mammals. Many of the most highly developed mammals are included in the primates, another group. Among the primates are many kinds of monkeys and the large apes, such as this chimpanzee. It is one of the most intelligent of all the mammals. Scientists classify man with the primate group. There are many other kinds of mammals which are grouped according to special characteristics. This giant anteater belongs to a group of mammals that have no teeth. It eats mostly termites and ants. Another anteater is the armadillo. There are thousands of species of mammals with wide differences in appearance and habits. But whether the animal lives on land, like this rodent, or flies in the air, like these bats, or lives in the water, like these dolphins, there are two questions we can ask to help us decide if it is a mammal. Does it have hair, and does it nurse its young? These are the two characteristics that all mammals share. Whenever we find animals that have hair and nurse their young, we know they belong to the large group of vertebrates called mammals.
That's quaint. Of course, they went straight to the spiny anteaters and the duck-billed platypus. Those are, of course, the most fascinating, like weird. If I had a candidate for animals that came from other planets, those would be two of them. The other one, of course, would be squids and octopi. All right, so behind me I have a film scanner hooked up, and I went to the storage unit, and so since I have 7 storage units, I went to the wrong one. I mean, there's 3 in one place, there's 3 in one place, and then there's 1 in another place. So there's 3 different locations, and I wrote down where the film was that I was looking for, and I went, and I was like, oh no, I'm at the wrong, completely different location. The location that I need to go to is like 3 miles away. But I was like, you know what, I'm here, and I know that I have a bunch of films here. I'm just going to look and see if I can find it. And sure enough, I found it. So here we go. This is Nutrition, Consumer, and Supermarket. Enjoy.
During the making of this film, we talked to many people to get their views about different aspects of nutrition and the supermarket.
Oops. So I don't know if you can see over here, the film just built up off the reel and just popped off. So let's watch this film about geography of New England, and we'll go back. I'll fix this.
These are the Berkshire Hills in Massachusetts, part of the rugged, beautiful country that is New England. What is New England? It is the most northeasterly portion of the United States. The region is made up of 6 states: Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. Several mountain ranges, called the Northeast Highlands, give most of this region a rugged kind of terrain. Much of New England is a region of hills and forests. And much of New England is covered with a shallow, rocky soil. But how did the region get its rocky soil and rough highlands? For the answer, we must go back thousands of years to the period called the Ice Age. Much of North America, including the New England region, became covered by a great sheet of ice. The ice sheet moved over the continent, grinding off high points and piling up ridges and hills. Then much later, the ice slowly melted, leaving its marks on many regions, including New England. Some of the rocks were ground by the ice into pebbles and sand. These were left as deposits of gravel which is not good for farming. But the glaciers also carried soil from the highlands and pushed it into the valleys. The result was that much of the best farmland in New England is found in the river valleys and lowlands. There was another important effect of the glaciers on New England. As the ice tumbled the land and rocks about, it changed the courses of rivers and streams, creating rapids and waterfalls. Here was a source of energy that could be used to run mills of different kinds. From these early mills, many industries were developed. Today, New England is still a region of many manufacturing cities that grew from the mill towns on the rivers. In addition to the effects of the glaciers, New England has been greatly affected by the sea. The sea made possible the development of shipping and fishing, which led to the growth of seacoast towns. And so New England is a region of many seaport cities and fishing towns. It is a region of industrial centers, originally built near water power. And it is a region of many small farms which sell their products to the cities. What do the farms produce? On rocky, irregular land, the crops that can be grown most easily are feed crops, such as hay. The land is also suitable for pasturage. Hay and pasture land support cows. And so dairy farming is the most common type of farming in New England. On this dairy farm in New Hampshire, we can meet a couple of New England farmers, Ralph Pike and his father. They're getting in their main crop, which is hay. Jed Pike is used to hard work, for farming has never been an easy job. The growing of hay for dairy cattle is so common here that New England is often called the hay and dairy region of the eastern United States. At milking time on the Pike farm, the two youngest children help out. Bob and Betty get the herd into the barn. Ralph and his father do the milking using a milking machine. Milk and other dairy foods are among the most important products of New England farms. The areas devoted to dairy farming are scattered throughout the 6 states. But there are other kinds of farms, too. In Connecticut, in the Connecticut River Valley, tobacco is grown in the shade of muslin covering. Tobacco is one of Connecticut's most valuable crops. Cranberries are another valuable New England crop. Most of the cranberries grow in Massachusetts along the coast. The berries are harvested in the marshes near the sea. One of New England's most important crops is potatoes. They are grown in the fertile valleys of northern New England. One county in the northeast portion of Maine is devoted almost entirely to the growing of potatoes. Some of us may not think of timber as a crop, but trees are another product of New England soil. In the forests of northern Maine, for instance, timber is cut to be made into paper in the mills of southern New England. Although it is not a crop, the bedrock that lies under New England's soil is a useful resource of the land. There are many quarries in northern New England, especially in Vermont. The quarries of Vermont produce granite, marble, and slate. Some of the stone is sent to cities all over the United States. Some is used for building material in New England cities. Many of the largest New England cities are concentrated in the southern part of the region, the area which has the densest population. This population depends not only on the products of the land, but also on the products and commerce of the sea. Harbors such as Gloucester, Massachusetts, are centers of the fishing industry. For 300 years, fishermen of New England have made a living from the sea. There are many kinds of fishing in the shallow coastal waters. The boats come into port when they have a full catch. The seafood includes mackerel, herring, lobster, and codfish. The sea has made possible not only the fishing industry, but it has also helped the development of the tourist industry. Visitors come to see the beauty of old harbors, such as Gloucester. And they're attracted also to the historic treasures of New England. The State House of Massachusetts, for instance, and the Bunker Hill Monument to Heroes of the Revolution are some of the famous landmarks of the history of America. For historic cities such as Boston, the tourist industry is an important source of revenue. But Boston is even more important because it is a great business center and the leading port of New England. Boston is also a leading port for overseas trade. Articles manufactured in New England, such as paper, machinery, and hardware, are exported. Among the articles imported are bales of hides and tanning materials. The hides are tanned and made into leather. Leather such as this is used in the manufacture of shoes. The city of Boston has been making shoes since colonial times, and it is one of the important shoe cities in the United States. Other cities of New England developed specialties too. Textiles such as cotton and silk, electrical equipment and appliances, aircraft engines, rifles and other small arms, and clocks and watches. Thousands of city workers supply labor for New England's various industries. The workers include immigrants from many lands. Men such as Dominic Romato. Dominic is a lens grinder in the watch factory. He is one of the more recent immigrants who have found in southern New England a land of opportunity. In many ways, his life is typical of New England industrial workers. Those who have skilled jobs in cities that specialize in light manufactures rather than heavy industry. From the factory, he drives to his modest home on the outskirts of the town. Yes, Dominic and his family are another part of our story of New England. He is one of the many kinds of people who make up New England's life. The people who work in the big factories, those who work in the quarries and in the forests, those who make their living from the sea, and those who farm the land. The lives these people lead and the different kinds of work they do are closely related to the kind of region in which they live, a region of rocky, rugged land bounded by the sea, the region of New England.
Okay, I think we got the nutrition thing working. Let's switch over there.
the making of this film, we talked to many people to get their views about different aspects of nutrition and the supermarket. To begin with, we asked people why supermarkets have become so important in our way of life.
In my opinion, I would think that for the vast majority of all shoppers, of all people really, what they really want is a convenience shopping. By convenience shopping, I would mean a convenient store to shop in, but also products inside the store that make it more convenient for them. It makes the job a lot easier to live, rather than go back to the good old days when we made all our own bread. Now it's nicer to go out and get a good quality, quick processed food that takes care of those needs.
Convenience, yes. But several people also told us they had reservations about the supermarket.
You don't think it's good for you just because it's in the supermarket, do you?
Many products you find in the market are detrimental to your health. They're not really nutritious in nature, and all the time the public is just ignorant to what they're eating and what's involved, so they buy whatever's on the shelves.
I think that you have to more or less think about what you're buying, and if you have some knowledge of nutrition, you can find very good products in the average supermarket. However, there are, of course, many products that I wouldn't use because I don't feel that healthy, but I think there are many, and I've been feeding my family and do all of my marketing in a supermarket.
The object of shopping in a supermarket should be to get the nutrients we need. Proteins for growth and repair of the body. Carbohydrates for energy. Fats for insulation and energy. And vitamins and minerals for normal growth and proper functioning of the body. But there are so many thousands of products in the supermarket that selecting foods for the nutrients they give is difficult without some knowledge of which products to choose and which to eliminate. For basic nutrition, it helps to think of the 4 main food groups. The meat group. This group provides proteins, fats, vitamin B, and iron. Substitutes for meat are dried beans and peas and nuts. The milk group. Milk and dairy products provide protein, essential fats, vitamins A, B, and D, and minerals such as calcium. The cereal and bread group, in which grains such as corn, rice, and wheat are used to make breads, cereals, noodles, crackers and cookies, rice dishes, and even popcorn. This group provides carbohydrates, vitamin B, and iron. The vegetable and fruit group provides vitamins and minerals, carbohydrates, and roughage for proper digestion. Although there are only these 4 basic food groups, there are over 7,000 products on the supermarket shelves. Which one should we buy? Where do they all come from? Let's take as an example one relatively common food, the ordinary potato. From this one product come many other products on the supermarket shelves. There are instant mashed potatoes, and au gratin potatoes, French fried potatoes, and on and on and on. These potato products are a good example of the way food manufacturers take basic foods and process and package them many different ways. This processing and packaging often decreases the nutrients of the basic food while multiplying the price. Potato chips can cost 10 times as much as raw potatoes and provide far less nutrients. Aside from the fact that basic foods are processed and packaged so many different ways, another reason there are over 7,000 different products in the supermarket is because so many of them are non-food items. And all of these products are there for one reason: to get you to buy them. To shop wisely for nutrients, we also have to be aware of the techniques that are used to influence our purchases. One of these is advertising.
I'd say the ones that advertise the most are the ones that have the least food value for the individual.
Well, I mean, what sort of information do they give you? What's that one lip-smacking, whip-cracking, patty-whacking good? I mean, what? Libby's on the label, label.
As if I were an Oscar Mayer waiter.
Just the ad. It's not so much the jingle. It's just the whole ad. It's just stuck into my mind.
Yeah, I am very much against this. I think whatever is advertised is only a benefit to sellers, but not to buyers.
Store design is also a technique used to influence buying. It has been claimed that the music and the maze of aisles in the supermarket help hypnotize the customers, lull us into a mood that encourages impulse buying. These impulse purchases are stimulated by product spotters that draw attention to certain products, and by displays at the ends of the aisles where products are placed for maximum visibility, and not as many customers mistakenly feel because they're on special sale. Eye-level displays also attract our attention. Shelf placement of the products is carefully researched and competition is keen for the best locations. The way products are displayed in the produce department is an example of the way the store is laid out. The staple items, the ones purchased most often, are widely separated, so you have to pass by many other things to get to the few you need. A package's main purpose is to protect what's inside. It also has to be convenient and easy for store employees to price and stock on the shelves. But packaging is also a technique used to influence buying.
I think the package is the salesman of the product.
I believe all packaging has a sales value today. Obviously, that's the whole point of attracting people's attention.
A package has to catch your eye. Mouth-watering pictures of the products inside often do the job, along with bright colors and happy faces and bold designs. Many products make nutrition information a part of the package appeal, realizing that more and more people want to know what is in the product and how it was prepared.
Out of a certain percentage, if they can package a product, they've accomplished their goal, at least to get you to try it.
Several people we talked to commented about the confusion brought on by what is printed on the packages.
Anyway, you never see packages that are labeled small these days. You see them, they say medium, large, extra large, colossal. But when you get medium, it's tiny, minute. Large is very small, and then extra large or colossal can often be average, something like that. But you just don't see anything sort of labeled what it is. Everything is just notched up to be bigger and bigger and bigger.
Unless they are capable of studying the package and comparing the contents, they really get ripped off.
Fractional weights and different units of measure make it difficult to compare the value of one product with another. But whatever the size, read the ingredients and the nutrition information on the package and use it.
I think that when people go to supermarkets, they buy brand names and don't even check the labels at all for nutrients and carbohydrates and whatnot.
I don't think the average person knows what it means when they read a package and see it has so many units of vitamin B or so many units of riboflavin or whatever it is. They don't know whether they need that many units or whether it meets their daily requirements or whether it's more or what the particular vitamin does for them.
Labeling, packaging, store design, advertising, all combine to make shopping in the supermarket confusing. But there are ways to help you get maximum nutritional value for your food dollar. Here are some tips.
The most important thing for me is to take a shopping list with me because I don't want to buy things on impulse that I don't need.
I do use open code dating. I think it's very important because it helps me to determine whether a product is fresh or not.
I find that unit pricing helps me whenever I have a problem with odd package sizing or weight. I find that unit pricing helps take a lot of the confusion out of it.
Well, I think you should buy meat according to the amount of lean meat in the cut, not just how much it costs per pound. Your higher grades of meat, they cost more and they contain a lot more fat.
Well, chicken and turkey are usually bargains compared to other meats.
I feel processed meats like sandwich meats, hot dogs, are expensive sources of protein. And, well, some scientists feel that they contain preservatives that are harmful.
Bacon is mostly fat, and I think you'll find that it's a pretty expensive source of proteins.
Well, frozen dinners cost more to purchase than the same meal cooked at home, and they don't provide as much nutrients. For convenience, it's going to cost you more money.
I buy bread more by weight and food value instead of the size of the loaf, because most bread or some is just puffed up with air.
Well, hot breakfast cereals are cheaper if you don't buy the instant or quick kinds.
I find that breakfast cereals are often an expensive source of nutrients. And those pre-sweetened cereals, or the ones vitamin enriched, they charge you quite a premium for the added sugar or vitamins. I would choose a non-sweetened whole grain cereal. I find that they provide better nutrition for my money.
I think you should avoid buying breakfast cereals in individual serving packages because the added cost of individual packaging makes them poor nutrition bargains.
Well, non-fat milk and low-fat milk are less expensive than whole milk, and of course contain less fats, and are better for you.
Margarine has less saturated fat than butter, and it's also cheaper.
I would say in buying cheeses, buy it in blocks or wedges, not individually wrapped. You're going to get more for your money. You're going to be ahead of the game, money-wise.
I always buy vegetables and fruits, if I can, in the form that'll give the most servings for the money. When you buy fresh fruits and they're in season, they're usually a much better buy than canned or frozen.
I find that snack foods are they supply a lot of calories, but they're a very poor source of any nutrients. Snack foods are just a very poor nutritional buy, I find.
Well, I think to get the best nutritional values, that we should all get back to basics, things like whole grains,
legumes,
a lean meat and poultry,
fruit,
and vegetables.
And of course, low-fat dairy products.
And nuts are good.
To sum it all up, whenever we go shopping for food, the main thing to remember is that we're shopping for nutrients. If we keep this in mind, then we can take advantage of the convenience of the supermarket without being confused by the thousands of items available there. When we understand both the market and our nutritional needs, then we can choose the foods that give the best nutritional value for our food dollar.
Right. That was awesome. I love looking at 70s footage of supermarkets. Again, resonates with me growing up in the 70s. So this showed up today. I'm very excited. This is some zines called Women of the 16 millimeter Sector. There's actually 4 volumes, and I got volume 2 at a conference. But the woman, Tanya Goldman, who's a professor, film studies professor, she has been going through and cataloging women who worked in 16 millimeter film. Now, why is this interesting? Because not only at, and this is why we like 16 millimeter film, because it's basically women who help make educational films, promotional films, commercials, and then everything related to that. So, like J. Margaret Carter, she was the director of the non-theatrical distribution of National Film Board of Canada, 1946. So a lot of films ended up in libraries in the United States from National Film Board, thanks to her. So, kudos. And I'll put a link to it if you're interested, where you can get these zines. They're very well designed. I mean, to the point where I'm like, wow, this is really stunningly beautiful. And it's all in color, even though all the photos are, half-tone black and white photos. But still, pretty nonetheless. Let's learn about measuring hearing.
Procedures employed in measuring the capacity of the auditory system of the hearing-impaired child vary according to the age of the child, the stimulus presented, and the response anticipated. Determination of hearing loss as early as possible is critical to the development of the infant's audiovocal system. Newborn infants are screened in the hospital nursery. One of the first techniques developed in the United States uses trained volunteers who introduce a warbled pure tone between 2500 and 3500 hertz at an intensity level of 90 dB SPL. The observers record the neonate's reaction as to intensity and type independently, and then compare their results. Judgments of reactions must be unanimous to be considered a pass.
Okay, fourth test at 100.
Failing 3 trials at 90 dB SPL, the intensity is increased to 100 dB. Lack of response to the stimulus may be for reasons other than irreversible hearing loss, such as an allergy, mental retardation, or neurological damage. In a recent California study testing over 5,000 neonates, nurses, using a flat 100 to 6,000 hertz broadband stimulus, found 23 failures, a higher incidence than has been previously reported. Identification in the hospital nursery may be followed at a later date by electrophysiological measurements, such as electroencephalography, using evoked auditory responses to acoustic stimuli. Electrodes are attached to the infant's head and the acoustic signal introduced. Changes in the patterns of the electroencephalogram are recorded and computer averaged. At the control panel adjacent to the test booth, the audiologist manipulates the intensity and frequency of the stimuli, marks and checks the readout. Comparisons are made to tactile threshold measurements.
I'll drop back to 250 for moderate level.
Sound field testing of the same infant. Note the location where the electrode was placed. Correlates with the EEG results. Change in the intensity, frequency, and type of signal facilitates the infant's responding He may become immobile, localize, or attend. At this age, usually only a single response to the stimulus is given. The two-man team judges the reliability of the response. The infant responds to selected acoustic signals, to warbled pure tones, to environmental sounds.
Yes. Good.
And to speech while visual attention is held.
Oh. Yes, I think so.
That was too.
Good.
Before conditioned play audiometric techniques can be used, the young child must learn to discriminate the sound stimulus and to make the appropriate motor response.
I didn't hear anything. You listen. Hey! Look.
Discrimination of gross sounds following visual association of objects and pictures is preliminary to the next stage of behavioral audiometry. Note the learning sequence, the use of bisensory stimulation, and the auditory skills emergent, established, and yet to be developed.
Okay. Just a minute.
Let's try to learn to put it on, okay? Let's get another one. Now listen carefully. Watch.
For the older child, at initial testing, the same behaviors must be learned.
Try something else to learn the game.
Failing to respond to conditioned play audiometry, Courtney learns the task tactily, holding the oscillator in his hand.
Oh, leave that on. That's okay. Hold this. Put it on. Put it on and you feel it. Whoops. Okay. Feel it. Courtney. Yes, you could feel that. You feel it. Good boy!
Transferred to the mastoid process, the association is made. To obtain reliable results, the audiologist must be assured that the child understands the task required of him. Finally, the earphones, and testing continues until threshold measurements are obtained.
Okay, put it on. You heard it.
Comb.
Boat.
Choose.
Boot.
Job.
Robin.
For hearing-impaired school-aged children, standard audiometry is used, and special techniques of speech audiometry are employed for the older deaf child and adolescent.
I'm going to make it louder now.
Okay.
Tape-recorded lists of acoustically analyzed words are presented at specific intensity levels.
Fine.
Head.
What?
Hatch.
Hush.
Home.
Food.
Goose.
Gift.
Not.
Yes.
Shed.
Strap.
Dr. Boothroyd comments on his test of auditory discrimination.
The subject is asked to repeat what he hears and to guess if he isn't sure.
Each list consists of only 10 words, and the subject's response is scored as the number of sounds correctly repeated. There are 3 reasons for scoring on the basis of sounds rather than words. Firstly, the resulting score is less dependent on the subject's vocabulary. Secondly, it is statistically more reliable. And thirdly, it makes possible the use of these very short lists with a corresponding saving of time. Each list takes 1 minute of testing time, and it becomes possible to plot a complete curve showing the relation of discrimination score to intensity. From this curve, one can see the maximum score, the levels at which this maximum score is obtained, and also find out where the score drops to half of its maximum value, which gives a measure of the hearing loss for speech. This should correlate very closely with the pure tone audiogram measured at 1,000 cycles per second. The usual.
Evaluation of the auditory system in the deaf from infancy to late adolescence is essential for establishing thresholds of sensitivity, for providing appropriate amplifying aids, for assessing the functioning of the auditory residual in the developing audiovocal system, and for determining the effectiveness of the educational program in improving auditory skills.
Yeah, I was digging on the baby and the woo 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 woo, the weird the weird sound effects. So I'm sure all of you took hearing tests, and I remember them in school, but not really early as a kid. But I'm sure that happened, mostly because my father was in the Navy, and so when I was a baby, I'm sure that I went to the Norfolk Naval Base Hospital as a infant, and probably went through a battery of tests like that. Thanks for tuning in today. It's a weird rainy day here in Raleigh, where the archive is based, but I'm happy to see you nonetheless. And as a reminder, if you are in the Triangle area and you're close to downtown Raleigh tomorrow, I think at 3:30. Is that right? 3:30. I'm showing a bunch of old movie trailers involving giant insects and big bugs. I'm going to sneak in some spider footage, I think. But that's going to be at the North Carolina Science Museum, Natural Science Museum, at the Daily Planet Cafe, where you can get a beer and you can get some delicious snacks, and I will be showing some films, about 30 minutes worth. And then on Sunday, my good friend Kayla Janice is going to be introducing the hold on, I'll be right back. Pete, I'll be real quick. I'm coming back. Here I am. So this is Kayla's book, House of Psychotic Women. She just shipped a bunch of copies of it to me at the archive, and she'll be signing this, and this is an amazing book. Not only is it an autobiography of Kayla Janice, but it's also, she relays it to different movies, and on the back is from well, I'm totally blanking on that film. I know Possession, which is an insane film, and then of course Carrie. And then it's also filled with recommendations of films. She writes about a bunch of films that deal with women in horror movies and fantasy films and all that stuff. So anyway, she's going to be signing and selling the book at the Alamo Draft House in Raleigh at 5:45 on Sunday, and I'll be introducing her. And come and hang out. Even if you don't want to see the movie that she's introducing, Cockfighter, show up early. But thanks for tuning in today. Very much appreciate your eyeballs. Give us a thumbs up, give us a like, subscribe, donate. Jeremy donated via the Super Thanks button in YouTube, but you can also donate via ko-fi.com/avgeeks or patreon.com/avgeeks. Those are great ways to support us, and we will see you on Monday. Yeah, and then on Wednesday and the rest of the week, I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to be in Austin, Texas, doing a show, Nightmares of a Clown, next Friday. Today's Friday, right? Next Friday at South Lamar location during Fantastic Fest. So if you're in Austin, try to figure out a way to get there. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon. As always, please rewind, love each other, and take care. Bye-bye.